misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye, country roads, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. I hear her voice in the morning hours, she calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that
one day my brother was cornered in the gym by a kid twice his size, so that's when I stepped in. I got a black eye and a bloody lip, and it took us both to get that bullet whipped. And as he was limping out, we both had no doubt. That's what being brothers is about. It's about standing up for one another, back to back, there's nothing stronger. It's the hand that lifts you up when you're knocked down. That's what being brothers is about. At 19, he's a young Marine. His new wife's having twins. I can't believe he'll have boys of his own. I'm so proud of him. The family's here to say a prayer. You send him off to war. I tell him I'm going to. Somebody's gotta watch over you. And mama breaks down. But that's what being brothers is about. It's about standing up for one another, back to back, there's nothing stronger. It's the hand that lifts you up when you're knocked down. That's what being brothers is about. Turns out that he's the one that took a bullet meant for me. He came home with a scar, and they gave him a purple heart. And he told me, you'd have done the same for me, 'cause that's how brothers are. Watching him with his boys makes me proud to see the men they're growing up to be. I hope they learn the same thing we figured out, and understand what being brothers is about. I'll always have your back, and I'll never let you down. That's what being brothers is about.
You know, well, I'm a chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio. Well, I was raised up beneath the shade of a Georgia pine, and that's home, you know. Sweet tea, pecan pie, homemade wine, where the peaches grow. In my house it's not much to talk about, but it's filled with love that's grown in southern ground, and a little bit of chicken fried. Cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio up. I like to see sunrise, see the love in my woman's eyes, feel the touch of a precious child, and know a mother's love. It's funny how it's the little things in life that mean the most, not where you live, what you drive, or the price tag on your clothes. There's no dollar sign on a piece of mind, this I've come to know. So if you agree, have a drink with me, raise your glasses for a toast to a little bit of chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio up. I like to see sunrise, see the love in my woman's eyes, feel the touch of a precious child, and know a mother's love. I thank God for my life and for the stars and stripes. May freedom forever fly. Let it ring. Salute the ones who died, the ones that give their lives so we don't have to sacrifice all the things we love, like our chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio up. I like to see the sunrise, see the love in my woman's eyes, feel the touch of a precious child, and know a mother's love. It's a little chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio up. I like to see the sunrise, see the love in my woman's eyes, feel the touch of a precious child, and know a mother's love.
American girls and American guys, we'll always stand up and salute, we'll always recognize.
Good morning, Mustangs. I'm going to try that again for the people in the back. Good morning, Mustangs. We have some people standing. If you want to come down and sit on the floor, if you want to get an aisle seat, we do want everybody to get a seat today so that you don't miss anything. We want to start in about 30 seconds, so I kind of need everybody to sit down and settle down. Thank you very much. I'm going to wait until everybody's ready. Thank you very much. Mustangs, I need everybody to quiet down. We've got a lot of special people here, and we want to show the respect. Thank you, I appreciate that. Welcome to our annual Veterans Day Assembly. As you know, today we're here to honor all of those who currently serve and have served in our United States Armed Forces. These brave men and women are our protectors and our peacekeepers. They are the ones that have sacrificed their time away from home, their effort, and they've risked their lives on the battlefield in order for us to keep our country free and safe. Let's give them a round of applause. If you're a veteran today, stand up. We want to give you a round of applause. I think we can get a little louder than that, Mustang. You may be seated. Thank you. We also have some special people here that we would like to recognize. We have our Indian Prairie School Board President, Mr. Michael Razak. School Board member and Metea parent, Mr. Mark Rising. Our fearless leader, the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Karen Sullivan. And my boss, Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Lewis Lee. And I don't see her, but I know she's on her way. We have a special visit from State Rep. Stephanie of the 84th District. Let's give her a nice hand. She was just re-elected on Tuesday. And all of our honored guests today and community members, thank you for joining us. Now, it's no secret that the life of a soldier is an incredibly difficult one. It is, logically speaking, a high-risk job with little reward and recognition. The demands we make of them are incredibly challenging. Every day, we ask our soldiers to be away from their families to ensure that we can be near ours. Every day, we ask our soldiers to risk their lives to protect ours. And every day, they step up and do it. They put their lives on the line to protect our freedom, our democracy, and our great nation. But these liberties aren't free. What is the cost? Well, this video may help us with the answer.
I said, your old courthouse is kind of run down. He said, no, it'll do for our little town. I said, your old flagpole's kind of leaned a little bit, and that's a ragged old flag you got hanging on it. He said, have a seat, and I sat down. He said, is this the first time you've come to our little town? I said, I think it is. He said, I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware. And it got powder burned the night Francis Scott Key sat up watching it writing, say, can you see? It got a little rip in New Orleans with Pakenham and Jackson tugging at its seams. It almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on though. It got cut with a sword at Chancellorsville, got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, and Bragg, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, she took a bad hit from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low She was in Korea, Vietnam. She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. She got badly mistreated in Iran, but got a ticker tape welcome back home again. And in her own good land here, she's been abused, she's been burned, dishonored, denied, refused, and the very government for which she stands has been scandalized throughout the land, and she's getting threadbare, and she's wearing kind of thin. But she's in good shape for the shape she's in, because she's been through the fire before, and she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, and we bring her down slowly every night. We don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her upright. On second thought, son, I guess I do like to brag, 'cause I'm mighty proud of my ragged old flag.
These words in Johnny Cash's poem are so simple yet so powerful. Even if it's been some time since he read it, it still rings true today. Our flag represents so many different things to many people, some meaning simple, some ever so complicated and controversial. We take for granted the broken or tattered things around us, not thinking that its condition and appearance are a result of what we have done as a nation to survive and fight for our freedom. Sometimes our flag takes the brunt of it all. As of today, there are around 1.4 million soldiers who are currently active in defending our nation. If we take into account all of the current veterans and deceased soldiers who have died for our country, that number is enormous.
Because of all this, it is so important for us to be here today, to recognize, to honor those who never asked to be put in the spotlight, and those who pay the price for our freedom every day. Each of those 1.4 million soldiers have worked hard and sacrificed more than we could ever imagine to maintain the precious freedom that we often take for granted. With such a large, demanding task, such as preserving freedom, every member, every soldier is instrumental for our nation's objectives. We owe it to our veterans to remember them and the sacrifices they have made, both big and small, on this Veterans Day, and to especially remember those who have served but are missing or no longer with us.
Students, staff, and honored guests, please remain standing for the presentation of colors, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Star-Spangled Banner. Our flags are being carried by Ryan Stang, Devin Fisher, Zach Kashmowitz, and Aaron Perot, our guest Eagle Scouts. Our Star-Spangled Banner will be performed immediately afterward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whose cross
Will the audience please be seated?
How about that rendition of the anthem? It doesn't get any better than that. As I said earlier, we have a lot of honored guests here today. And we have State Rep Stephanie Kipowit of the 84th District, former Marine, just re-elected this week, and a friend of Metea Valley. Thank you for joining us today. Thank all of you for honoring our flag and our nation. We have two wonderful speakers this morning with their stories here today, as well as a time-honored military tradition that we are now going to make our own. Will the audience please stand one more time and remain in silence for the playing of taps by our own Mustang, Kara Niedenbach.
He didn't know I was doing this today, but some of you know my dad, Mr. Tesman. Hi. You might know him from being a student of his or being coached by him in speech or volleyball. One thing you might not know about him was that he was in the Marines for 8 years, from 1997 to 2005, before going to school to become a teacher. He works diligently and effectively to shape the lives here at Metea, and to teach us to love our people. When I was younger, he would work nights and go to school just to be a teacher. He genuinely cares about his family at home and his family here. I think a lot of that was rooted from his time serving the Marines. Please welcome my favorite Marine, my favorite teacher, my dad, Rob Tesman.
Thanks. Wow, thank you guys so much. Trying to regain my composure a little bit. I'd like to start by thanking the administration, faculty, and staff, especially Dean Reyes, for putting together this assembly to educate people about veterans. Most of all, I want to thank you students for putting aside your classes and your fun for a short amount of time and paying attention to what's going on here today. I guess you could say I was born to be a veteran. Literally, my birthday is Veterans Day, which is one day after the Marine Corps' birthday. So I guess you could say I was born to be a veteran and a Marine. I have my own Lieutenant Dan story to some degree because I come from a long line of men who served our country during a time of war. My grandfather, an undocumented immigrant, fought in World War I as a member of the U.S. Army. My dad's oldest brother fought and died in World War II. His death prompted my dad to enlist in the Navy, where my dad fought in the Pacific during World War II. His story is especially interesting to me because he lied about his age in order to enlist and fight for his country. At 15, a sophomore in high school, my dad left high school and went off to war. My dad's oldest sons fought in Korea and Vietnam as members of the U.S. Army. One of my dad's grandsons served in the Navy during the Gulf War, and I, the lone Marine, the legacy of veterans, served during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. While I never served overseas in combat, I did experience the terrorist attacks during 9/11 as I was stationed and lived mere miles from the Pentagon when it was attacked. When I was first asked by Mr. Hancock, Dr. Eccles, and Dean Reyes to speak at this assembly, I said no, because I hate public speaking, especially when there are microphones and 3,000 people involved. When Dr. Eccles asked me again, I thought about what I would want my students to do. I thought about what I would want my athletes and my speech competitors to think of me, and I was afraid that if I backed down from this opportunity, I'd let them down. So I decided to share with all of you some lessons I learned in the Marines. 1, you can achieve things you never thought possible. 2, when you fall, grow. And 3, live your lives with honor, courage, and commitment. Before joining the Marine Corps, I'd never run more than a mile, which I did in gym class. I'm taking that laughing as you think I can't run a mile now. You're probably right. While in the Marines, we ran at least 3 times a week, always when it was way too early in the morning, and the shortest distance we ever ran was 3 miles. By the time I was stationed in Quantico, Virginia, we would run from our shop to the FBI Academy, which was a distance of approximately 8 miles round trip. I was never good at running, which is mainly why I left the Marines, but looking back, I can honestly say I am proud of the fact that I could go from never running more than a mile to running 8 miles. More importantly, when I left for the Marines, I had very little confidence and pretty low self-esteem. I'm sure there are plenty of you listening that struggle with the same issues, and I hope what you hear is that there is hope. For me, being forced into uncomfortable and often seemingly impossible situations time and again, with no choice but to overcome and come out the other side successfully, are the experiences that allow me to be the father, teacher, and coach that I am today. I had leaders like Sergeant Drayton and Captain Wynn who taught me how to overcome adversity. When I was 20 years old, I had a wife and a young daughter, and my success as a Marine was our lifeline. If I messed up, it meant losing pay and time with my girls. I messed up really big one time. I was scheduled to be deployed on a ship, which meant that we had to meet at 3 a.m. because we were supposed to get on a bus at 3:30 a.m. that would get us to the airport around 4 a.m. for our 7:30 flight. One thing you need to know about Marines is that we are really weird about being super early for things. My wife and daughter had flown back to Illinois to be with family while I was going to be gone, and I stayed up way too late the night before packing for the deployment. I set my alarm around midnight and went to bed hoping to get 2 hours of sleep. I tell you all these details because I think some of you can learn from how stupid my plan was and not repeat the same mistakes. I don't know what time it was when I woke up to Sergeant Drayton's fist banging angrily on my door, but I can tell you this, it must have been at least 3:30 a.m. because I had to have been at least that late to require him to come to my house and bang on my door. I had just committed a criminal offense. In the military, there is a set of laws called the Uniform Code of Military Justice. As you can imagine, these laws are far more strict than the laws that we civilians live under. The offense I had just committed is called UA in the Marines, or AWOL in the Army. And I was dangerously close to the next higher charge, which is called missing a movement. Missing a movement, had I missed that whole bus-plane situation, would have been one step lower than deserting a combat environment. In short, I was in some serious trouble. I was supposed to be a leader, and I had just failed miserably to lead by example. Sergeant Drayton could and maybe should have taken steps to see that I was punished for my crime, but he taught me something else that day. He taught me that even inside of a typically toxically masculine world such as the military, that people could still choose grace. When I opened the door, he was red-faced and stern, but his demeanor quickly turned into care and concern that I would simply learn from my mistake. For the rest of that deployment, he kept putting me in charge of other Marines, and I kept getting things done effectively and efficiently. I had overcome my major mistake, and I look back now at that moment as the moment I began to flourish as a Marine. Not long after that, I was nearing the end of my enlistment, and Sergeant Drayton convinced me to re-enlist in the Marines, because he said the Marine Corps needed more Marines like me, who had a rough start but were able to overcome adversity. Through his mentorship, I became confident enough that I could face challenges without falling apart at the first signs of failure. My hope is that all of us here today can remember to face challenges with that same optimism. My hope is that all of you have or will have a mentor like Sergeant Drayton in your lives. I later met another mentor, Captain Wynn, who was my boss in Quantico. After a couple of years in Virginia, I made the egregious error of weighing 183 pounds. For my height, this was 2 pounds more than the Marine Corps allowed. It used to be that Marines were placed on weight control, which meant more running and more frequent weigh-ins, until they were back within the weight standards. Had that been the case, I could have been off weight control after the weekend was over. However, the Marine Corps decided that once Marines do not meet the standard, they were placed on weight control for 6 months. I responded pretty poorly by gaining more weight. On purpose. I was angry, because it didn't make sense to me that of all the things the Marine Corps cares about, which is a lot of things, that they were strict on this one thing. Being a Marine is a multifaceted thing to be. Being a Marine means being strong, a team player, focused, disciplined, calm under pressure, effective, a marksman, a leader, etc. How is it possible that I was good enough at being a Marine in all areas except one, and that this one area I needed to improve on became the total estimation of my worth? It didn't make sense. Luckily, Captain Wynn treated me as though it didn't make sense to her either. She continued being kind to me, which means that she relentlessly but jokingly made fun of me and smack-talked me on a regular basis. She trusted me to lead and kept giving me more responsibilities as an instructor. She encouraged me and believed in me when I most needed someone from the Marine Corps to recognize that I was more than a number on a scale. When the time came for her to submit the name of a Marine who she trusted to be a part of a mobile training team in Iraq, she chose me. I remember that clearly because I went home that night and packed. That weekend, my wife and daughters rushed out to the nearest portrait studio to get our family picture taken because our youngest daughter had just been born and we hadn't had a family picture taken yet. There was a fear that we might never get to have a family picture taken with the four of us because there was a risk that I would not make it home. I remember calling my parents and how proud they were that their son was going to serve in a combat zone. It is bittersweet for me to finish this story because the Marine Corps ended up deciding not to send a mobile training team after all. We were fortunate because it meant that we didn't have to worry about my safety. But it was bitter having felt the pride of knowing I would risk my life for my country and not be able to do so. The truth is, I'm always somewhat embarrassed to have served this country during a time of war, but never having been able to serve in combat. It is for this reason that I felt inadequate to get up here in front of you to talk about my experience as a veteran, which is why I hope this speech has been more about what you can learn from my experience than it was about me and what I've accomplished. What I accomplished was growing up. I was transformed from a 17-year-old boy into a 25-year-old man with a wife and 2 children. Along the way, I learned some pretty incredible lessons about being a human being. I learned from Sergeant Drayton and Captain Wynn that it is possible to reject the easy path of judging others for their failures and instead see them for who they can be. I learned that the Marine Corps' values of honor, courage, and commitment do not apply to being only a Marine. They apply to you too. Honor, according to the Marine Corps, means integrity, responsibility, and accountability. At Metea, we ask you to live with integrity, which means being responsible and accountable in your academic work, extracurricular endeavors, and in your personal lives. When you think of courage, you might think of those who face danger without fear. But the Marine Corps defines courage as doing the right thing in the right way for the right reasons. If we all live by that precept alone, our community would be powerful. Commitment, according to the Marine Corps, is devotion to the Corps and my fellow Marines. We could easily rephrase that to apply to us as devotion to Metea and my fellow Mustangs. So Metea, as a teacher in this school, I want you to know that you are more than your mistakes. When we see you, we see your future. We see our future. Not your past. You're more than a number on a standardized test, and you are far greater than your GPA. I ask you today to honor those who have served our country by daring to live with integrity, having the courage to fall, to pick each other up, to allow others to pick you up as we love our people and strive toward growth and excellence, and to the honor lives of those who have served our country today by using your life as you pursue your purpose and being the best possible version of yourselves that you can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tesman, for your service to our nation and now to us Mustangs. The presence of veterans at Metea Valley is a daily occurrence, luckily for the Mustang Nation. Will the veterans that are in attendance with us today please stand? Please join me in recognizing these dedicated individuals, our everyday heroes.
To further demonstrate Metea Valley High School's involvement in our military, students each year continue to enlist in our armed forces. The following Mustangs have enlisted to serve our country and may begin training shortly after graduation. Please help me recognize the following individuals as they stand and be honored by their future plans to serve in the military. Myra Rebecca Solis, Navy. Aaron Williams, Army. Brianna Wong, Army Reserves. Daisy Paniagua, Illinois National Guard. Brian Casares, Illinois National Guard. Daniel Peast, Marines.
Now, we will bring members of our student government to the podium to guide us through a tradition kept by the military to remember our soldiers who could not come home and celebrate among their family and friends. This is a sad but very symbolic piece of military etiquette now being shared with the Mustang Nation to honor our soldiers' fallen or missing comrades. Thank you to the Arbor Terrace community of Naperville and Cheryl Bassan, mother of Metea alumni, for supplying us with the materials needed for this dedication.
This table is hereby reserved by the Mustang Nation and all of its honored guests to honor our missing comrades in arms and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice.
The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our missing men and women. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering to the call of duty.
The placemat, plate, bread plate, napkin, candle, and utensils are symbols of our wish that the fallen or missing men and women could be here today with us for the celebration during the season to be thankful.
The single red rose, displayed in a bud vase, reminds us of the life of each of the missing, the dead, and their loved ones and friends. These are the Americans keeping the faith, awaiting answers, praying.
The vase is tied with a ribbon, a symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing or lost. See the ribbons throughout our communities in unity of their very determination.
A slice of lemon on the bread plate to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing, dead, families seeking answers or burying their loved ones.
The Bible represents the strength gained through faith to sustain those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. Many soldiers of different walks of life are also strengthened by their individual faith. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share this morning's celebration. Today, we symbolically raise our glasses to toast their sacrifice.
The chair is empty. They are missing or have left us.
Let us now come together in a moment of silence for those who are missing or have gone beyond our earth in the name of our freedom.
Thank you all for respecting our fallen and missing comrades during our moment of silence. Herschel Pack was born November 1st, 1919 in Johnson County, Kentucky, which is in the heart of Appalachia. Mr. Pack was a young history teacher, but soon enlisted in the Marines on August 28, 1942. Mr. Pack was attached to the 4th Marine Division for part of his service, and he trained as a highly specialized Marine sniper. Mr. Pack was at the battles of Saipan, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa, as he was transferred at some point to a different division, as no one USNC division was at all 3 of these battles. Mr. Pack was wounded twice in battle, once in Iwo Jima and again in Okinawa. After returning from the war, he resumed his teaching career. Mr. Pack continued in education for 40 years, working as a teacher, principal, and finally as an assistant superintendent. Mr. Pack ended his military service in 1946 and achieved the rank of a sergeant. Mr. Pack passed away on October 13, 1986, leaving behind a wife, 2 kids, and 2 daughters. Dean Rowe is proud of her grandfather's service, freedom, and that young people have a voice that can change the future for the better. These beliefs are echoed in the letter that he sent home to his mother while he was on the battlefield. This letter was shared with the local paper to help share with all the experience of young soldiers that were away fighting World War II.
My darling mother and family, when I look around myself and see my fellow comrades, Marines, who have returned from the battle-torn fronts, I realize the fates have been very kind to me. When you hear people speaking harshly of American youth, they don't realize how wrong they are. When one sees the marks of hazardous hardships written over the bodies of these Marines, he knows that American youth was never soft and weak. Out there where those strong are separated from the weak, our boys have proved to the enemy and the world as well that Americans are born with a lack of fear and a strong love of freedom. Many of our boys have died and many more will die before we have triumphed over the barbarous hordes that have loosened up upon civilization. If our people regard these sacrifices indifferently and soon forget, it will be the most cruel ingratitude the world has known. If anything good or great comes as a result of this war, it should be credited to those boys who have died so others might remain free. We feel that the flame of unity and organization should burn more brightly than ever from the home front. When a group or organization refuses for reasons of higher wages or other reasons to cooperate and give the boys on the front the very best equipment and material, they are our enemies. Mother, I think of you often and look forward to the time I can return home. But at the present, I have a greater duty to perform. One for God, my country, and you. Your loving son, Herschel.
Good morning, Mustang Nation. Just last school year, I asked my husband to come and speak to some of the English 3 classes about the book the juniors are reading called The Things They Carried. I watched him take a full week to read that book and to come here ready to tie into some of his experiences. At first, he didn't think he was even worthy. You see, I went down to Eastern Illinois University for my college experience, 4.5 years, and he spent about the same amount of time, 46 months of his life, in the Middle East. An experience I will never get out of college. I probably won't ever get it. Born in Chicago and raised in Berwyn, Illinois, inducted into the United States Army, active duty at the age of 19. He has seen many places and continues to be active in the Illinois National Guard. He is not about awards and medals, but the people he has met and the things he has seen. I am most proud to introduce you to my husband, Sergeant Alan Reyes of the 108th Sustainment Brigade in Humboldt Park, Chicago, Illinois, National Guard.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you all for attending this Veterans Day ceremony. Dr. Eccles, honored guests, District 204 administration, students, and staff members. My name is Sergeant Alan Roger Reyes, and today is a day of remembrance for all of our veterans in this world, past and present. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today at Mustang Nation. There's an unknown author who once wrote, "What is a veteran? A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired or reserve, is someone who, at one point in time, wrote a blank check, made payable to the United States of America in the amount of, and including his life." Today, we honor these brave men and women. I've written many versions of this speech in various locations, from my home to the gym, on a bus in my Army uniform heading to training, even here at LMC, and the list goes on and on. I've sat in those same
life without us. Many of you know this picture, a picture of a military casket, a soldier standing guard, and the wife of the fallen soldier sleeping on the floor. A Marine, Second Lieutenant James Cathy, 24 years old, from Reno, Nevada, died August 21st, 2005, when he and a corporal went ahead of his platoon to scout an area when a roadside bomb went off. Lieutenant Cathy's wife refused to leave his side that night, as this was the last night she would ever be able to sleep next to him. She asked if she could sleep there, and the military said yes. The Marine you see in the picture stayed there the entire night, standing guard, as I'm sure Lieutenant Cathy would have wanted. His mom goes on to say that he always wanted to join the military since the age of 4. His mom still has a void in her life since her son is no longer here. But her biggest fear is that her son will be forgotten. And even though she's not here today, Miss Cathy, your son is never forgotten. A few years ago, I was able to take a trip to a place I've always wanted to visit and spend the right amount of time. This trip was to Arlington National Cemetery, the most peaceful piece of property. When I walked on that holy ground, I felt safe and at home. I was not alone. My wonderful wife took the trip with me. As she knows how much my country and my fellow brothers mean to me, she didn't rush me. She stood by my side, quiet and waiting for me to be ready to continue to walk. I stopped at a staircase going up to see the tomb of the unknown soldier when I remembered a country song by Trace Adkins called Arlington. I played this song and it brought tears to my eyes. It talks about a soldier returning home from battle, but their home is there in Arlington. It refers to a young man who was killed in action and returned to Arlington, where his grandfather was waiting with a salute. I've seen my fair share of combat, and I thank God each and every day for keeping me safe and sound and returning me back home to my family. I now play that song and thank my wife's uncle and my uncle who just passed away. My uncle was my hero. I remember the day he left for the Army. It was a long time ago when you were able to walk back to the terminal with your loved one without getting checked. I remember seeing him board the plane in his Class A uniform and knew what I wanted to do. My Santa Claus and my parents always gave me G.I. Joes for presents. To this day, at my dad's house, all my G.I. Joes are still there waiting for me to return. My uncle is a 20-year vet who lost his life to cancer this year. He deployed to Iraq and Kuwait during the Persian Gulf War. On the day of his burial, it was a nice sunny day. There was no wind as all the small flags in the cemetery stood still. When the priest gave the blessing and his body started to be lowered into the grave, there was a gentle breeze that started. The flag started to move in the wind, and a smile with a tear came upon my face. I was then reminded of a quote about our flag. The flag doesn't fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. And I knew right then and there that my Theo was safe and sound where he belonged. I know my uncle is in a better place looking down at me at this moment. He served his country, and today is about him, a veteran. I love you, Theo. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your continued service. The Mustang Nation is proud to have you as a part of our family.
Before we close out for the morning, we are proud to show our dedication to honoring our veterans by allowing our music program, led by Mark Blue and Nate Bramstead, to touch our senses one last time with their beautiful and powerful rendition of America the Beautiful. Please stay seated for the entire musical number. It will be performed by chamber strings, wind ensemble, varsity singers, and chamber singers.
Wow. One more time for our award-winning music program. Let's give them a huge hand. That is amazing. In closing, thank you all for joining us, especially local members of the armed forces, members of the Aurora Fire and Police Departments, Aurora City officials, State Representative Stephanie Kifowit, and community members, all of our sponsors, and especially our staff and students. Remember, this weekend, say a huge thank you to a veteran, show them their proper respect, and as always, thank you very much. Please dismiss slowly. We're going back to our second period classes, and then we'll switch for third period. Have a great weekend, everyone.